Hello, hello. What a fun, exciting conversation we had on today's episode. Today, you're going to hear Kiana's bodybuilding coach speak on, well, really a lot of different topics. So at the time of this being released, it is currently after Thanksgiving. So I hope everyone had an awesome Thanksgiving, ate some good food, and had a lot of fun spending time with family or friends or whoever it may be. Me and Kiana will be just getting back from a road trip that we decided to take. So I'm excited to share more about that later on. A couple weeks ago, Kiana competed in her second show in Iowa, where she competed in women's physique again. And her coach, Alicia, was also there. So I had asked Alicia if she would come on my podcast, and that was a couple weeks prior to the show, and we decided it would be fun to get together in the hotel room and all of us, meaning me, Alicia, and Kiana, get together and in person do the recording, which we did. We talk a lot about nutrition and macros versus calorie counting, carbs, cardio, workouts, rest days, some of the bodybuilding world, some challenges, and we really speak into a lot of things that can be implemented into any part of life, and no matter who you are, whether you are generally wanting to get healthier, or maybe you are wanting or thinking about doing a show someday, I think there's many golden nuggets in here that anyone can take away. As you're listening, if you want to connect with Alicia, work with her, or learn more about her, in the show notes, I have linked her Instagram. It's Alicia Monique. You can go ahead and give her a follow or reach out to her if you would like to ask her any questions. You can also find Kiana at KIBASS12 on Instagram, and you can find me at Sophia_Dawn41. I hope you're ready to learn and laugh. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome to Flow with the Grow. I'm your host, Sophia, a health and fitness professional, positivity distributor, and a real-life human being with real-life challenges. Every Tuesday, you will hear my honest conversations on the day-to-day highs and lows that life teaches us, as well as bring you actionable tips that you can implement to improve your health and wellness journey. This podcast will empower you to flow with the inevitable setbacks of life. You will learn what it means to flow with the grow, see through a lens of optimism, and navigate your way to living your best life. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Now let's jump into your daily dose of positivity and growth.
I love how there's like remnants of spray tan like on some of the towels. It literally happens all the time.
I think I had some on my arm too, even.
Do you?
Yeah.
Anything that you touched. Oh my goodness, we're on video too.
Yeah, it's recording. Yeah, look at my from sleeping. It's like the only spot. I guess up here it's kind of a little bit jacked up too.
Oh, wow.
Let me see this one again. Oh no, that's because my arm was right there.
Oh,
Was
it's
it?
your fault.
Yeah.
That would make sense for why you would have it on your hand
that's
too.
like right there. So I got donuts. Yeah, we should stop there tomorrow.
They literally have like 30 different kinds, and it's kind of like I came here knowing I'm not donuts are like my thing, and they have been for a long time. And I cannot remember the last time that I went into a donut place and only got like one. It's like at least 6 all the time. But when there's that many options, game over. Like, I'll take a dozen, no question.
Plus, like, how can you choose? Like, there's so many options.
Right,
like,
exactly. And there's not, okay, this is my queen of validation right over here. There is no Hertz donut in Minnesota, so it's not like I can go there any day and go get it, you know? So I put half of them in the freezer, and then I eat them like a little bit at a time. Nice. And my boyfriend eats half of them anyway, so it's like, he's like, you don't need to bring donuts. And I'm like, I know I don't need to. I'm going to.
It's not about eating it.
Yeah, right. I'm not doing it for you. Awesome. You just steal them when I'm not looking.
Yeah. We should definitely eat donuts.
Yeah, we stopped.
I've been doing it so long. Me either. And they've been like, I'm usually not a donut person, but they've sounded really good lately.
Yeah. Once you've been dieting for so long, it's kind of just like anything sweet or anything like calorie dense.
Mm-hmm.
Anything sounds good.
Mhm.
They do have some minerals that are like about that big.
Okay, we're going.
So it's like 15 minutes. It's like West Des Moines, so it's like 15 minutes down the highway that way.
Okay.
But
when we go work.
Yeah.
and they're open 24/7.
Oh, dang. Maybe late night.
Holy
stop.
cow. Yeah. Jeez. Like every day of the week too?
I think so.
That's crazy.
Like their
I've
thing
never-
says on their website, it says like instead of like 24/7, 365, it says 25/8, 366.
Oh, nice.
Meaning like they're open all the time.
All the time.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
Yeah. So that was my little adventure for the afternoon.
Nice.
Very on brand.
All right. So thanks for coming on.
You bet. I'm
no.
excited.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I like wanted you on was because just seeing her go through her process of like, with especially like macros and food and workouts and rest days, because she used to not. We'll talk about rest days. But I remember when we first worked out together, she was like, we both talked about how we don't like to take a rest day. Like we'll do something every day of the week, blah, blah. And then she started actually taking rest days and then kind of having more like, just more results too.
Right.
And then me starting to do that and I started to feel it too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that's like it's such a common thing.
Mhm.
It's like people feel like, and I've been there too, you know, it's like people feel like, oh, if I take a day off, I'm going to lose my gains or I'm going to lose progress or I'm going to stay like fall off track. But your body needs that time to rest and recover. Otherwise, what are you doing when you go to the gym?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Tell us more about just like who you are and what you do and where you're from, all of those things.
Okay. My name is Alicia Krasmarzik. Crazy last name. Krasmarzik. I'm from a small town in Minnesota, but I live in Minneapolis now. I've been a personal trainer for almost 12 years and been running my own business now for a year and a half. So it's fun. I love it. Focusing within the last 3 years, focusing more on competition prep clients, but I still have a wide array I train all women right now. Not that I'm against training men. That's just kind of like how I flowed to be as more of like a women's coach. I compete myself as well in figure, and I've started that in 2013, and I've done 15 shows, and my last one was in 2019, and now I'm ready to come back again. But I'm living through my clients right now. So it's super fun.
Do you train in person and also like online? Okay.
Yes. Yep. I would say about 75% of my clients I actually see in person too. And then I do just macro coaching or nutrition coaching and programming and stuff like that for a good handful of people too.
Okay.
So
what made you get into all of that?
Which part of it?
Oh my gosh, all of it. Like,
all of it.
Okay, so what did you do before you started your own business? You said you were training,
Yes.
but at just gyms or what?
Yes. So I worked at Lifetime Fitness.
Okay.
That was my first like big kid job outside of college. I went to school for exercise science and knew that I wanted to be a trainer. Got hired at Lifetime right away, and I worked there as a trainer full time for 6.5 years. And then the pay was very inconsistent throughout that entire time, but I loved it. So I didn't want to leave because I loved what I did and I loved my clients. And then I just got to the point where I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I need to have more steady income at this point in my life. So I got an office job at like a food manufacturing company, just working at the front desk and doing some random office type things. And it was fine. And I still was a trainer for Lifetime part-time. And I did that for another 2 years. And then they kind of changed how they wanted their part-time employees to like prioritize things. And they wanted me to be there certain times, certain days and this and that. And I couldn't do that because I had a normal 8 to 5 job. So I left that and then started training just on my own at just an independent gym where I kind of like pay rent, kind of like you would pay for a chair at a salon or something like that. And a little over a year ago, that office job, my position got eliminated. And so instead of trying to find something else, I was like, it's now or never. I'm going to dive in on my own business because I've been wanting to do that. Honestly, I was just scared. Like I was scared shitless to be, sorry. Yeah. Like I was afraid to like take that next step and build something on my own and fall into the like uncertainty of payments and all that kind of stuff. But I also knew that that's what I ultimately wanted to do.
Mhm.
So
That's like where I'm at right now.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, like exactly. Like
and I'm like,
oh my gosh,
I'm going to go for it because if I don't, this is the perfect opportunity, the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
And it's turned out awesome.
Yeah.
And
you're glad you did it.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Mhm.
It's amazing. First of all, like working for yourself, it's a lot of work and it's hard to like find an off switch and like separate work from everything else life because it's like you're constantly in that world.
Mhm.
And with being a competitor and in the gym on my own as well, it's just like never ending. I don't mind it because I love it, obviously, but it's good to have the boundaries sometimes.
That's like what I'm trying to think about too right now is like, hey, how can I do it where like I do what I need to do and I work but like having that balance of like when I can stop
exactly.
or just like take
it's like
a break and just
don't do work stuff on Sundays or like a day during the week or a couple evenings during the week or whatever it might be.
And that's okay to like
exactly because if you worked at any other job, you would have days off.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. How many clients do you have?
I think like 22 or 23.
Nice.
So it's good.
Are those all, because you do like different things for different people, right? Like, are they all like full, like here's your.
It's not all like in person and programming and macros. I have maybe like 5 girls who I'm just doing their nutrition, just like the macros and nutrition. And then the rest, it's everything. That's where I'm at right now.
So how do you like program for different people? Like, do you have them go through like a form and then you do it individually?
Yep. So I have everyone fill out like a new client intake form. Mm-hmm. So it has questions about like your history with like exercise and what kind of things have you done before, what's worked, what hasn't, any injury history, movements or for whatever purpose that you can't do or need to stay away from. And then in regards to nutrition, I always ask about same kind of thing. Like if you've tracked food before, what kind of diet or whatever things have you followed before so that I have a good idea of where they're coming from and taking that into account along with what their goals are. So like the way that I would program for Kiana, because she's doing women's physique, is going to be a little bit different than I would for a girl who wants to compete in bikini, just because the judges are going to look for different things based on those different categories. Mm-hmm. And then same idea for anyone who's not looking to compete. And if they just kind of want to generally feel good and get stronger, and most of the time it's change their body composition, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And just program based around what kind of equipment they have, where they're going to be working out, and where they're starting from.
How long does it take you to come up with that? Like, people do like sit down and write a program for someone?
Well, probably longer than it should because I overthink everything.
That's how I would be it.
But once I have a good like idea forming in my head, mm-hmm. I would say it probably takes like an hour or so mm-hmm. to make sure that I'm filling everything in right and making sure I'm hitting all the muscle groups that I want to and the way that I want to and mm-hmm. that kind of thing.
Yeah. What do you like most about what you do?
I love hearing from my clients how much it's affecting them. And my favorite thing, every time I read my clients' check-ins that they send me every week, is when they tell me like wins. I always have them tell me 1 or 2 wins. You always say like, not sure. Yeah. I'm like, come on. But my favorite thing is when they tell me something that's like not even directly exercise related or food related, mm-hmm. where like I had one girl who said that they ordered in lunch for work and she had a cookie, and instead of eating it, she brought it home and split it up into 2 separate desserts. And that was a huge win for her mentally as far as her relationship with food, mm-hmm. or going out to eat and not feeling like they have to go overboard because they don't get these things all the time. I'm very much a make your nutrition and workouts fit into your life. Don't make it your life. And so hearing from other people that that's how it's going, it's like music to my ears.
Mm-hmm.
That, along with people eating more, feeling stronger, and dropping weight and just feeling better. And it's
And like realizing that,
Yes.
oh, shit, I'm eating
that,
more,
oh my
but I'm
God,
dropping
food is
weight.
the best thing ever. And
Yeah.
this is what I need to be doing.
Yeah. Okay, so like when you count macros, have you
Yeah.
always done that, or was that kind of new later on?
Let's see. Before I started competing back in 2013, I did track my food. I used my FitnessPal, which is the same thing I still use today. But, and I wouldn't say that I always did it. I would say maybe 2 or 3 years, like 2010, 2011, something like that is probably when I started to track my food. It was once I started working at Lifetime and kind of like learning more and more about nutrition and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then learning about splitting not just calories, but splitting it up into macros. That was something that I learned as I was getting ready for my first few shows, the first couple of years. I tried to be very clean eater. And I tried to be like the perfect bro bodybuilder, like chicken, broccoli, rice every single meal. And oh my God, it was a disaster because being so restrictive and not letting yourself have anything that might be considered bad is just a recipe to, binge on a jar of peanut butter in bed at 10:30 at night.
Yep. I have done that before.
Me too.
Yeah, seriously.
So as I learned more about tracking macros and how, if you focus most of your daily intake on the good nutrient dense stuff, and then you have that little extra, 10 to 15% of your daily calorie need that you can get from peanut butter, Oreos, whatever it might be that makes your brain happy.
Mm-hmm. I think that like one big thing that I'm learning that why that like tracking macros can be beneficial for me anyway, is that like it allows me to, it kind of is shifted my focus from like restricting and can't having this until like the weekend, or just being restricted to like just allowing myself to have it.
Yeah,
and, like, having
exactly.
that balance.
Right.
So like changing my relationship with food, how I see it.
100%.
Because most people like they'll restrict, they feel like they can't eat it, but because of that, that's like the thing that they want.
That's the only right. I mean, it's the same thing. Like you tell anyone you can't do that. What are you going to want to do? That thing.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's kids that are rebelling against the parents all the time and like, oh, you can't sneak out at night. What are you going to do? Sneak out at night.
Yeah.
So and that's something that I was very skeptical on tracking macros at first, because the friend of mine that I learned about it from, he was very much about like fitting in all the crap food, like the non-healthy, the more calorie dense, Pop-Tarts, yada, yada, yada. And so I had like a bad view of it. But once I kind of changed around my mindset about like, okay, that's what people like glorify about tracking macros. But in reality, it's still eating a majority of your like fruits and veggies and getting in your protein and the good carbs. And then you have that little bit of leeway where it's like, oh, you want to have some Reese's because it's Halloween and there it is, the little pumpkins and stuff like that.
Those are the best.
Then have it. And as long as it fits into your macros in your day and you hit your numbers by the end of the day, then you're golden and you're still on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that affect you? Like just like counting macros and like, did you ever, I guess you never really restricted yourself probably, but did it ever like, what am I trying to say?
I don't know. You can read my mind. I can't read yours.
I know. Like, did it ever help you more of being like, okay, I can have more of this food or that food, like, and then tracking that within your macros? Or was it more so just, you just tracked what you ate?
No, because I've tracked before in the past and I've never been like super restrictive. I just have tracked and then whatever I ate. I was way under eating. Yeah. So the biggest thing I got was just, like you said earlier, the eating more, and my weight was actually dropping while eating more.
Have you ever had anyone who like gave you pushback or like it was hard for them to kind of grasp the concept of
eating more?
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were scared.
Oh, yeah.
100%. How do you handle that?
It's the way that you kind of deliver things and explaining the whole process of it. The whole process, like reverse dieting is like what it's technically considered, where instead of over time dropping calories down, over time you're bringing your calories up. And it's not something where I'm going to automatically say, oh, you're eating 1,000 calories a day, let's bump that up to 2,000. Like, that's crazy. And that would set someone up for a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But going from 1,000 calories to 1,250, that little bit of an increase, and just if you have to explain it to somebody more than once, then you explain it to them more than once.
Mm-hmm.
If they're still very like standoffish towards it and don't like the idea, then maybe we'll drop it back down a little bit and kind of meet them in the middle. And once people start realizing, oh, I feel better, I have more energy, I feel stronger in the gym, and I feel like I look better, it's way easier to convince them to like keep going with it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like that. I think it was Sal that has said it on Mind Pump.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I just tell them, if you trust me this one time, I'll never have to ask for your trust again. Because like after a month, they'll see that result, and then they're all on board for eating more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that if you're not eating enough, then if your ultimate goal is body fat loss, then if you're not eating enough, your body is not going to want to get rid of it, because your stored body fat is just extra energy that your body has floating around. And if we're not getting enough energy coming in from food, your body's like, screw that, I'm going to hold on to everything I have. So once your body realizes, hey, I have more coming in, this is good, your metabolism starts to speed up. And then sooner or later, it's like, oh, I don't have to hold on to this extra fat anymore because I'm getting enough fuel in, you know? And then with more energy, you can push harder in the gym, which is going to equal everything, you know, more muscle, more gains, more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Using the fuel.
Did you ever have any issues with like body image, or like what were some of your challenges, I guess?
Yes. And honestly, like before I got into more of like the healthy lifestyle of like after college and whatnot, like I had my party days in college and didn't really care what I ate and that kind of thing. But I didn't really ever have any sort of like body image issues or anything back then. But once I got into more of the fitness world and paid more attention to that kind of thing, because I was in the gym all the time and I was a personal trainer and I have to like look the part and all these kind of things. Once I started competing, that's probably when I started to feel some of those things, because once you get down to like your best shape where you're going to get on stage and you're like way leaner than you were before, and then in a sense, you kind of see some of that progress be like coming undone once the show is over, which you don't want to stay super lean. You don't want to be in that position eating that little for very long, just because it's not realistic and it's not something that people can stick with long time or long term. And so the first few shows that I didn't really do the proper like reverse diet after the show. And so I did gain weight back really fast. And now granted that it wasn't like obese or anything like that. Like it was probably like gain my, 12 to 15 pounds back that I had dropped in my cut, but you gaining it back that quickly it was really hard. And I know that a lot of competitors have that kind of thing happen. And even non-competitors who just want to, anyone who diets down to get to a certain point and then they're like, oh, I'm where I want to be. And then they kind of stop the dieting thing and then it comes back. And it's just that feeling of like, how am I undoing all this progress? And now I don't want anyone to see me in a tank top in the gym, and I'm going to, stay covered up all the time. And it's one of those things that, yes, it happens, but the more you kind of like get your mindset wrapped around the fact that, oh, you don't need to stay show lean all the time because it's not healthy long term. It does get easier. So long story short, yes, I have had those feelings.
Yeah.
But I always end up like digging myself out of it. And then it's kind of like moving on, because dwelling on it and being upset about it isn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
So
I think that when you can have that mindset, like you can talk to yourself through it. And because I think a lot of people, they'll lose a bunch of weight, like you said, and then they'll gain it back. And then that's when they like hit that point in their head. But if they can talk their way out of that.
Right.
So that's important.
Well, and it's hard when you're constantly used to, as you get leaner, you start noticing more and more changes, and you can see more muscle in your body because you're leaner. And so there's more lines coming out and it's fun to see. And then as that starts to fade and you don't have that constant like visual progress, it gets harder to think that you're making progress because you can't see it anymore. But in order to get your hormone levels back to normal and your brain fog out of the way and sleeping better and all these things, you need to get your food back up. You need to put a little bit of body fat back on. So it's one of those things where you have to be kind of okay with yourself. Yes, when you're shredded and lean, but also when you're not.
When you can swim it back.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, talking about workouts. I had cardio.
Cardio
and like wait, because I know that you had asked her if she wanted to do cardio, and she like does not like cardio. I remember you actually gave her to do HIIT 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I think we did it twice.
Together,
I don't know how many together. Did you do it the other times too? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I went.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah. But anyway,
she's a fantastic client where even if she doesn't like to do it, she'll still do it.
Yeah.
She'll do what she's told.
So what's your take on cardio?
My personal take on cardio is very much a less is more type of view as it, just because I've known a lot of people who have grinded so hard on the cardio, but then it's so much stress on their body because you're not really doing anything super hard, but it's still stress on your body. And it's 2 hours that you're on the treadmill where you could be relaxing and you don't have to be in the gym as long as that. That's the extended cardio thing, in my opinion, is a little bit of an older style of training. And now there's so much science backing the fact that cardio is not the answer. It's making sure that your diet is in check and that your body is recovering and that your lifts are intense where they need to be. You're going to make all sorts of progress with that. And then if and when you need to add in more movement or more extra calorie burn and stuff like that, it's add more daily movement. So Kiana has been like counting her steps. And so maybe it's instead of having 13,000 steps as a goal, let's bump it up to 15,000. So instead of monotonously walking on the treadmill, she just walks around her job site a little extra. Or 20,000 steps extra, whatever it may be. But that way it's more relaxed and it's not like pounding the pavement. For my competitors, I would definitely like prescribe HIIT style cardio over steady state on the treadmill, aside from peak week when you have to kind of bring everything down a little bit. Only because it helps with muscle retention. And that's one of the biggest things, especially with natural competitors. We want to make sure that we're maintaining all of our muscle as much as we can. So HIIT cardio is going to be a much better option for that rather than pounding away 45 minutes on the treadmill.
Do you ever have people who are like, well, I just think I just need to do more cardio so I can lose more weight, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know at Anytime Fitness, people say that to me all the time. In my head, I'm just like, you do not.
It's not the answer.
Yeah.
But if something like that would help give them a little bit of peace of mind, then maybe it's programming a little bit of it in. Like I have a couple clients who they love like the mental release that cardio gives them. So they'll do either the Peloton bike or run for 20 or 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week. And she enjoys that. That helps her to like de-stress, which is great. And aside from that little chunk of cardio that she does, I'm not going to have her change anything else. I'm not going to have her add more in. That's already actually taking a step back from what she had been doing before. So it's one of those things where sometimes you have to meet people where they are, but at the same time, just explain to them that it's probably just them wanting to see the results a lot faster instead of taking the time to actually do it the right way.
Yeah. Whereas I think that a lot of people, no one has explained to them like what cardio does, what strength training does, because they just think that cardio is the way to lose body fat, lose weight.
Right. And if you're like in reality, the strength training and building muscle, your muscle is what's going to run your metabolism, And so if you build more muscle, your metabolism is going to run faster. And then you're just going to be burning more calories all the time. Whereas if you're walking on the treadmill, you're kind of just burning those calories then, and that's it. So it's just one of those things that it's not explained a lot to like the general population. It's everything is all the advertising. It's,
cardio.
Weight loss and diet crap and cardio and crazy intense jump around workouts, which are not the worst thing in the world sometimes. You know,
Depends.
it depends. Exactly.
Okay.
But
Carbs. Let's talk about carbs.
are the best thing in the world.
So, okay, because I want to learn more about carb cycling. And then also, because I've noticed that you would bump her carbs up at different times and then like peak week. And like, how do carbs play a role in that and helping the body to, I guess, get ready for the show and just like gaining muscle?
Just kind of in general.
Everything, yeah.
Right. Okay. So carbs are always looked at as the enemy because so carbs, people are like, oh, carbs make you gain weight. Well, when you eat carbs, your body is automatically going to hold on to a little bit extra water because for every gram of carbohydrates, there's like 3 grams of water that comes with it. And so that's why people are like, oh, if I stop eating carbs, then I'm going to lose all this weight. It's most of the time just going to be water weight because carbs aren't there. Water's not there. Add the carbs back in, water comes back. Oh, my weight came back up. But in actuality, carbs are what is going to help to fuel your body. That's what's going to help give you the energy for your workouts. And yes, protein is good for it helps with the building blocks of muscle tissue and maintaining muscle, but the carbs are what's going to actually help that muscle to build and strengthen and give you the energy to push yourself so that all that stuff can happen. So with going into a prep. So with Kiana, when we first started together, my goal was to bump her mostly carbs. I didn't really bump her fats up a whole lot over time, mostly carbs because they are the body's biggest energy source, especially when you're weight training on a regular basis. So if someone is not regularly working out and regularly lifting, their carb need isn't going to be as high just in general. But when we're weight training and we want to be able to push ourselves and continue fueling our body that way, we need to make sure that the carbs are in a good place so that we can do that. Carbs are also the easiest macronutrient to manipulate in order to start seeing fat loss. And so once you start pulling those carbs away, yes, the initial weight drop is probably from water weight, but eventually you're going to start dropping body fat too, purely because you're in a calorie deficit, not because you're not eating carbs. It's because you're in a calorie deficit. I mean, the same kind of thing would happen if we took a bunch of fats away right away. And as we would sometimes like bump them up a little bit during her off season, that's just to help continue to let your metabolism burn higher and get that food intake higher. So that way, once she was getting ready to prep and we were going to start cutting food down, her body would be in a good position to actually start wanting to drop body fat because her calorie intake was so high already. So that deficit wouldn't have to be so drastic. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think for some people, they'd be like, wait, repeat that? Because I'm like, wait, do it again. But overall, carbs are good.
Carbs are good. Yes. No, carbs are not bad. There's obviously going to be more nutrient dense options for carbs like potatoes, oatmeal, rice, any sort of grains, that kind of thing. And then fruits, fruits, veggies, those are all carbs too. And those are all going to be good sources of carbohydrates. And then there's like the Skittles and the Starburst and the candy and the, cookies and all these other things that they're more just not nutrient dense. I don't want to call them bad foods because they're not. It's just a different option of food. So we want to make sure that we're getting a majority of our food from the higher nutrient dense things that have good sources of fiber and all the antioxidants and vitamins and minerals and things. But eating a few Starbursts when you're on a road trip at the gas station is not going to be the end of the world.
Right. Yeah. So then when you during, I think it was peak week or I don't really know, but when you would add
feed days.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So how does that work and how does that affect kind of
how she's okay. So with adding in refeed days. So when you're going through prep, when you start your prep, what we're doing is we're going to start cutting calories. And most of those calories in the beginning are going to come from fats because it's the one that's going to end up being the highest. And it's the easiest one to start taking away. Once we get to a certain point, your body might start to get to that plateau spot. where, you know, everyone under the sun who's trying to lose weight or drop body fat is going to get to a spot where they plateau and they don't see as much progress. What adding a refeed day is, which is just manipulating your macros, your proteins, carbs, and fats, so that carbs are going to be higher, and then we bring protein and fats down a little bit. So your overall calorie intake isn't going to be all that different, maybe a little bit higher than normal. And then your body is going to be kind of like tricked into thinking like, oh, I'm getting all these carbs now. This is great. This is a wonderful thing. It's almost like a metabolism booster, and also helps with mentally feeling like, oh my gosh, this is the best day ever. I get all these carbs. And then it's going to be a lot. Yeah. And then it's going to be a lot easier to stay on track once those lower carb days come back into it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So yes.
How'd you feel about when you had
I love refeed days. They're great.
And then the next day, how'd you feel after? Like, was there a difference? Like, you felt like leaner, or was it?
Usually, like the day or two after, I'd notice a weight drop and a little bit leaner.
Yeah. And that's because the body is kind of like, well, first of all, once the carbs soak up into your body, it's going to soak up all the extra like body water that's floating around. And so that's where you'll kind of like feel and look tighter. Like if you woke up this morning looking a little bit tighter than you did yesterday, it's because of all the carbs you had yesterday. And that's something that with a non-competitor, I probably wouldn't play around with a lot of extreme refeed days or like the peak week kind of thing like we did. That's more like a competition separate thing. But for anyone who is wanting to be in a fat loss phase and we want to get rid of this plateau spot that we might have hit, adding in a refeed day or two might be a good idea, or bumping calories back up to a maintenance for a week or so, and then going back into a deficit. That kind of thing is going to help people to stay compliant with things a lot better, rather than constantly not restricting, but restricting total calories.
Yeah. So when you say refeed, that just means upping your carbs.
Yes.
Basically.
Yep.
Calories stay about the same.
Yep. Calories stay about the same. It's really just kind of manipulating the breakdown of carbs and everything else.
I had like 3 questions come to mind. Okay. First one. Okay. That one will probably come back to you. But what's the difference for you? Oh yeah. Okay. So first, can you explain what a bulk is and a cut is? Just to let you know, listening.
Yes. Oh, 100%. So a bulk is what a lot of people call your off season, or building muscle, or bumping your calories up. I personally don't really like the term bulk because I feel like it automatically makes people think, oh, I'm going to get fat. Or
that's like always what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm going to get chubby, or, you know, something like that. And which is the last thing that people want. So sometimes, even now when I have clients that I've been working with for a while, they're like, am I technically bulking right now? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but like, no, because I'm obviously not making you get fatter, you know?
Yeah.
It's really increasing your food intake and working on building muscle and not worrying about fat loss at that time. So that's what will be next for Kiana, is working on getting her food intake back up. And once she's out of that deficit area and we're back to a good maintenance, then we can go into more of a surplus, and she'll be able to push a lot harder in the gym and work on growing muscle tissue. And that's the bulk that we're talking about. It's not bulk like adding a bunch of body fat. A little bit might come along with increasing the food because she is going to end up probably not staying as lean as she is, but that's all part of it. And then going into a cut, that's just kind of what they call it in the bodybuilding world. It's just a fat loss phase. So anyone who wants to drop body fat, they're technically like cutting calories. People say like, oh, I'm starting prep on such and such day. Well, if you're a bodybuilder, you're basically always prepping for the next time you're going to get on stage. So that cutting portion of it, where you're in a calorie deficit to drop body fat, is what they call prep. But if you're planning on getting on stage again at some point in time, then you're kind of always prepping for your next cutting phase. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really building muscle and then dropping body fat so you can see it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, okay, what's it? Not the difference, but I guess the importance of counting macros versus counting calories.
Okay, good question. Tracking macros versus calories. The biggest difference is going to be, if you're just tracking calories, not that it's a bad thing because you're still learning about what you're eating and you're trying to like have some sort of control over it. But if you're eating, let's say you're eating 2,000 calories. If 75% of those calories are coming from fat and the rest is coming from a little bit of protein and a little bit of carbs here and there, it's just not going to be the optimal breakdown to support your normal body functions. Because outside of fitness and bodybuilding, just your biology in general, we need protein to help support our muscles. We need fat to help with building hormones. We need carbs to help supply our body with energy and our brain power and all that kind of stuff. So we need a good breakdown of all of those things. And tracking your macronutrients is going to help with making sure that we get an appropriate breakdown of those to optimize all the normal body functions. It just happens to help with bodybuilding and that kind of thing too, or building muscle, not just bodybuilding specifically, but anyone who wants to build muscle.
Yeah, because I had clients who, and just members of the gym who they would be tracking calories, but not macros. And I just think that macros is better to track, at least like from what I've learned through her. And then, like you said, like to know what's protein, fat, and carbs.
Right.
Which anyone who's not listening, macros are protein, fat, carbs.
It's what makes up your food. Yeah. So like a piece of chicken, it's protein. It's typically your like meats and fish are going to be protein. And then carbs are going to be like your rice, your grains, your breads, your cereals, that kind of thing. And then fats would be nuts and seeds and butter and what else? A lot of dairy products would be a higher fat content than anything else. But if you look at the back of a food label, there's always the breakdown of X grams of protein, X grams of carbs, X grams of fat. So when you're tracking macros, you're essentially keeping track of throughout the day, how many grams of protein are you eating, how many grams of fat, and how many grams of carbs.
Do you ever have anyone who's super picky, like a super picky eater?
Oh yeah. And that's fine. I mean, I was a super picky eater when I was a kid. I've definitely grown out of that, but it happens. And so then it's just kind of, let's troubleshoot, trial and error, see what works, see what doesn't, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever, she asked me this question, or she told me that this would be a good question to ask you. Have you ever had people, like clients, lie to you about what they're eating and you can tell?
Like if they say they're meeting their goals and they're not.
And they're not.
Well, not specifically, like I can tell you're lying by looking at your pictures and stuff like that. Because honestly, I feel like the relationship that I've built with my clients, they'll easily just be able to tell me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I fucked up. I went out and I did this and I went way over on my carbs and such and such and such. So should I do something different tomorrow? No, don't do anything tomorrow. Just get right back on track. You know, I'm really big on having that open communication with people. And so when someone can like open up and tell me like, hey, I screwed up, like I accidentally did this, or I ate way too much of this and I had way too many rice cakes. And it's like, it's okay. It happens because I've done it too, you know? And so it's not the end of the world. And it's just kind of maybe then figuring out what else is going to help you to not want to do that or not have that happen. But
makes sense.
I haven't actually ever, at least that I can recall right now, had someone where I'm like, I guarantee that she's not doing what she says she is.
Yeah.
But
do you have an opinion on fasting?
I know that some people choose to do it for various reasons. I think it depends on the amount of time that you would be fasting, that a person would be fasting, and what their nutrition intake looks like outside of that, you know? So are you talking about kind of like the intermittent fasting kind of thing? Okay. So as long as that person takes their like eating window and they can still get all their food in for the day and they can hit their macros and calories the way that like their coach or whoever it might be, like, or even their own goals, if they can still do that, great, go ahead. I don't see anything bad about it as long as it fits with what your goals are and you can schedule around your workouts to a time like when you actually have food in your system, you know? Yeah. Sometimes it can be a little I don't know what to even say. A little sketch if someone has troubles with stopping at that certain time, when that window is over.
Mm-hmm.
Or when someone is, let's say you're in contest prep and your calorie intake is low and you're hungry all the time, it would probably be a lot harder to stay within that time frame rather than just eating like 6 smaller meals throughout the day so that you're not starving your ass off all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing I was going to ask was like 3 meals a day versus 6 meals a day versus intermittent fasting.
Honestly, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I have some clients who do like 4 meals a day. I have some that do 5 or 6. I personally am usually like a 4 meal, maybe a snack here and there, depending on what my day looks like, because I would rather eat 4 little bit bigger meals and feel like full for a little while rather than having 6 really small meals scattered throughout the day.
Yeah.
But if someone is more of like a grazer throughout the day, because there's people that are like that too. Like, I just kind of want to eat throughout the whole day. Okay. Hit your macros and, make sure you're grazing on the things that will help you get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's no like right or wrong. Like, you must eat every 2 hours or you must eat X amount of carbs at every single meal.
Yeah. It's what works for you.
Exactly.
And like your lifestyle.
Yeah.
100%. Job and family and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people overthink that sometimes.
I think they do too. Yep. Big time.
Yeah.
All of it. So much of it is overthought.
Oh yeah.
I
know.
Yeah. Same with like, staying on track while like on the go or like just like the whole like, I saw you posted your like meal prep for the weekend. We've done that too for our trip where we just like pre-make food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
people
easy.
people really overthink that because literally you can just, it is so
like,
easy.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? How do I travel? It's like, well, you can be in control, know, or if you're flying somewhere, maybe it's bring like the dry stuff that you can. And then once you get to your destination, go to the grocery store. A lot of hotels, at least even in the lobby, have like a microwave. You can heat up something.
Or gas stations along the way.
Yeah.
If someone's driving.
Yep.
I've done that before. You just go in. Put your food in the
microwave. Did that on my way here.
Yeah.
Gas station microwaves were like the greatest thing when I first like realized that. Genius.
I know. I know. The first time I realized that too, I'm like, it was like a light bulb. I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah. I know.
Microwave at a gas station. Why have I never thought of this before?
Right. Or fill your water bottle up at the gas station and their pop machine thing. Use the water thing, like. Oh, although some gas stations will try to charge you for ice. So don't put ice in. I have learned that. But, and then if you're driving somewhere and road tripping, gas stations have so much better options as far as healthier options.
Yeah,
like little packets of ground up gross. Like cut up chicken or beef jerky or nuts and, things like that are a better option. Veggie cups. Pretzels and hummus, things like that are going to feel like, oh, hey, I'm not going off track, even though this is like a grocery or a gas station pit stop.
Yeah. I've noticed that there's a lot of better options.
But yeah, it's just, it takes some extra planning and making sure that you have time to cook your food beforehand. But if it's a priority and if you really want it, you'll make it happen.
Right. Yeah. With anything in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it happen.
Exactly.
Why do you think, so if you have an opinion on this, why do you think people are under eating?
I think sometimes it's thought of as, it's mostly like an afterthought because I think that people get so busy in their life that the last thing that they think about is, oh, I should eat something,
That's true.
And you get to a point where like, you might wake up in the morning and you're hungry and then you get busy and do things and then that hunger kind of fades away, and then they're kind of like, oh, I haven't eaten anything all day. I think that's part of it. And I also think that at least for women, for sure, it's a fear of gaining weight because everything you see on TV and everything that's been, in mainstream media for years is all about eating less, cutting this out, stop doing that, and they need to be educating people about like, no wonder you're tired all the time. No wonder you sleep like shit. No wonder you can't keep yourself under control when you're watching TV at the end of the night and all you're wanting to eat is popcorn and ice cream. It's like, it's because you haven't fueled your body and given it what it needs and wants. And then it just says, fine then, screw it. I'm going to do whatever I want, you know? And so I think it's just one of those things that it's so common for everyone to think like, oh, I just need to eat less.
Yeah. I think it's like cardio.
know?
That's what people just think that that's the way.
Right.
To lose weight, lose body fat, whatever.
Or to just not maybe even understand how that fuel and how that food works throughout your whole body.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
if
and
they have
how
never had people tell them what,
exactly.
It.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to use you for an example again. Like, what I think that when we first started together, like you were busting your ass in the gym. Like she would lift so hard and for like a long time. And like for the first program I gave her, she like would always add in some extra stuff. Yeah. And because she was like, yes, I have to do this. I have to do this. Like her like drive in the gym is amazing. I love it. But she wasn't fueling herself enough to support what she was doing. And so that like 11 to 1300 calories that she was eating, like her body was just like, I mean, it's just not enough, which is a big reason for why once we slowly started adding food, like her workouts felt way better. She actually started dropping body fat, which was crazy. Yeah. Yours is probably the biggest like transformation like that I've seen.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Where like her weight dropped had to have been around 10 pounds within the first like several months. Yeah, it was wild because she was finally fueling her body. And if you look at pictures of her when we first started compared to now, like her body composition change is like, there was what, like 6 months or so where I didn't see you for posing or whatever. And you came, she and I met up and she went up into her lat spread and I was like blown away because it was just so different than the last time I had seen her. And so it's one of those things that once you learn what it does for your body, not even just in the gym, but in general.
Yeah.
It's like eye-opening.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally. Yep. Because I can kind of relate to that. Like it's kind of like in the past, once I kind of started to learn more about, okay, I'm probably under eating. Like I know people need to eat more and just lift. And I always knew that working out an hour for lifting was good, but like I was in the mindset of like an hour and a half, 2 hours, kind of like how you were. But once I started to see it with her and then also myself, I've started to just do lifting in like 45 minutes or less. And I'm taking rest days and I feel better and I feel stronger and like I have
because your body is able to recover better.
Yeah.
You know, if a person can push themselves like balls to the wall for an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym, you probably didn't work hard enough the first hour you were there because now you're just dragging things out, you know? And your body is only going to be able to push so far. And I've been in that spot too, like where I would be like a 2.5 hour leg day. Well, because guess what? You don't have to do every single leg exercise known to man on leg day.
You also have time to figure that
out. I know. It might feel good in the moment, but once you actually try maybe going a little bit heavier or slowing down your tempo a little bit or doing something a little bit different for 5 or 6 movements, rather than 9 or 10 movements, it's like a game changer.
Oh yeah.
And then you're not using up a huge chunk of your day at the gym and you have way more time to have that life gym balance.
Yeah.
Too, you know?
Yeah. I have more time in my day now because I don't work out.
Right. Exactly.
As long as I used to.
Like 45 minutes to an hour. Fantastic. If you have to, like for a competitor, if you have to practice posing or maybe you're walking on the treadmill a little bit to get some extra steps in, obviously then that's going to add it on to your time, but lifting anything longer than that, it's not really necessary. I mean, sometimes I know leg days might take a little bit longer just because they take longer to recover because you can push a lot harder. And going along with that, with the rest day thing, it's you tear your muscles apart in the gym. That's what that like tiredness feels like, you know, at the end of your huge set of leg extensions and you can barely stand up straight afterwards. Like you tear the muscles apart. And in order to rebuild and get stronger, you need to recover. And that's where those rest days come in. And that helps to reduce inflammation and helps those muscles actually do what you're trying to get them to do before you go and break them down again.
Yep. With rest days, do you kind of tell people how many rest days a week they should have, or is it just kind of whatever fits?
I usually program 2 rest days for sure. Depending where someone is at, if it's after competition, I might do 4. 4 days lifting and 3 days off just for the first like month afterwards, because prepping for a show is hard. You put your body through a lot. And after that, your body needs time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it feels like, oh, I have to, I'm all amped up and I'm all excited to do like to grow and get better. And I'm eating all this food now and it's going to be great. But you also have to give your body a little bit of a break. Here and there, I might program 6 days a week lifting and have one off day, but not for a very long time. Maybe like a 6-week period and then go back to 2 rest days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like not only does it benefit the body a lot, but it also mentally gives that separation of gym and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So like when you say rest day, just basically not doing lifting, not doing cardio, like just
go about your normal day.
Yeah.
Maybe like if you have a step goal that you're trying to hit or something like that, then still focus on that, or go for walks outside. It's not like, well, I just have to sit on like a lump on the couch all day. Like coach said, this is all I'm supposed to do today. No, a rest day is really just nothing super intense, and not lifting. So maybe it's go to yoga, maybe it's go for an easy bike ride or walk the dogs outside, something like that. Just nothing super intense.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, so this question came to mind. What is the importance of, because you kind of touched on it, like you'll slowly increase their calories. It's like maintenance. Is that what it's called? Maintenance?
Yep.
So the importance of going to maintenance first.
Yeah.
And then like also slowly.
And then slowly going higher.
That kind of helps you reset metabolism, right? Like just not
mess it up.
Unfuck it is what you would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So maintenance, like someone's maintenance calories is basically your body is always burning calories. Like your metabolism has its like set point of, well, it actually doesn't. That's a lie. It doesn't have a set point because based on your calorie intake, your metabolism is going to fluctuate with that. But your maintenance calorie intake is basically the amount of calories that it would take just to run your body, do your day-to-day stuff, and your body would not lose weight or gain weight. It would pretty much just stay where it is. There's your calorie output or your metabolism. It's made up of several different layers. So there's your basal metabolic rate, which is if I were just to lay on that couch for 24 hours, my body would still burn calories because I'm still here. My internal organs are still functioning. Everything is going on. There's stuff happening in my body, even though I'm not moving. So that is what your basal metabolic rate is. But then take into account your non-exercise activity. NEAT is what it's called, which would be, walking around your house, making dinner, taking the dog for a walk, all your normal kind of activities that you do adds up to extra calories. Then every time you eat, your food uses some of the calories from that food while it's processing it. So that's called the thermic effect of food, where once I eat a meal, that whole meal doesn't just like sit in your body. Your body actually uses some of that energy as it's digesting and absorbing. And so that's going to actually add to your calorie output. So all of those things together are what that maintenance level is. And then pushing beyond that into more of a calorie surplus is more so for helping to drive that metabolism higher. And driving your metabolism higher and getting that food intake up more is going to make a fat loss phase a lot more productive. Because if you are currently eating 1,600 calories and you want to try to drop body fat, if we drop your food down to like 1,300 calories, that's not very much. And you might see weight loss at first, but then you'll hit that plateau. And then what do? Go to 1,200 calories? No, don't do that. So walking food up higher first and getting into that surplus so that your body has these extra calories where it can use to build muscle and grow. Once you start pulling away from that higher calorie number, there's so much more room for you to go before you hit that ultra low calorie intake that's going to make people feel like crap, aside from a competition prep standpoint. Calories can get pretty low during that, but it's temporary.
Yeah.
So it's really all about setting your body up and setting your metabolism up so that way, once you start pulling those carbs and the calories away, your metabolism is still spinning. And so it's going to want to keep going and drop body fat.
Yep.
So that's the whole benefit behind it.
Okay, makes sense. It's cool having this explained. Like she's like saying something to me, but then it's like just hearing it again, and like I think the more that I hear it, the more that it's like kind of makes sense. And
and different people explain it differently too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that is a big part of like helping someone understand it differently. You know?
Everyone takes information differently too.
Yeah,
so it's
for sure.
Yep. What's your favorite part about doing a show?
My favorite part. I feel like my automatic answer would be like show day because it's fun. And yeah, show day is fun. It's like I love it and it's great. But honestly, like I love the whole process and I love trying to be better than I was the time before. Because come show day, like you have no control over who shows up, what they look like, who their coach is, what, you know, how long they've been prepping, how much muscle they have. All you have control over is yourself. And so if I can do all the things that I need to do and I can come in better than the time before, then I'm a happy camper. I mean, it's fun to watch your body transform and get to that like lean stage where you can start seeing more like lines and striations and become more vascular because you just see everything and it's fun and I love that part. But honestly, the whole process of it as a whole.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same. I've loved everything about this.
Yeah.
Love.
I feel like a lot of times, like you think about like, oh, show day is so fun. And like, don't get me wrong, show day is amazing. And it's more fun every time I do it. And as you get more comfortable on stage, that makes it even better. But that's just one day. That's like the end. That's like the end process. But everything you do from the time you start cutting your calories to the time that you get on stage is what really matters. And like, yeah, there's days that suck and your energy is low and you're tired and you're crabby and you feel like, it's true because like your calorie intake gets low and you're cold all the time and you're hungry all the time. So the hanger hits and it's hard, but the more that you can strengthen your mindset around things like that and kind of like pull yourself back out of those like slumpy times, because it happens to every competitor. Like there's nobody out there who like loves every single day of prep, but like the growth of like your mindset and that like strength there through my whole bodybuilding career, I guess, has been probably my favorite thing about it because I feel like I've grown so much as a person and taken so many of the things that I've learned because of bodybuilding and I can put it into other parts of my life too.
Like what?
You know, well, just like knowing, like prioritizing things. Like in prep, there's like a million different things that you have to do. But just the way that, now I'm going to blank on everything. That's like on the spot. But just like biggest thing for me is like mindset. It's not being cranky all the time. And it's like accepting things for what it is, taking a step back and like, okay, here we go, moving forward. And that's something that even outside of bodybuilding, like I needed to work on, like strengthening just like my mindset about things and staying in a more positive light and like more self-motivated in a lot of different ways. And I feel like through bodybuilding and whatnot, that's kind of like gotten me there, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What about, do you think that's kind of been the most challenging part too, is like the mindset of it, or like what's in your experience?
Oh my goodness, the most challenging thing. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. What's the most challenging thing? Probably, and it's honestly, okay, so this answer, it's not so much the case anymore because I've really learned how to balance like my bodybuilding world with the rest of my life so that it's not like, oh, when I'm in prep, that's the only thing I focus on. It's the only thing I'm doing. I did that the first couple shows I did because I was very like, oh, I'm not going to go out with my friends because they're going out to eat, or I'm, not going to eat Thanksgiving dinner with my family because I'm, in prep and this and this and that. It's figuring things out and like making bodybuilding fit into your life, not bodybuilding be your whole life. And that goes with like fitness in general. Like you don't have to say no to going and doing things with friends or people or a lot of events and a lot of outings revolve around food, but bring your own. you know,
Mhm.
like bring your own, drink your water. You know, your friends are going out for drinks and you don't want to drink. Great. Club soda with lime, baby. They will never know that it's not vodka soda. Like,
They will never know.
you know, they will never know. Like I've gone out to dinner with my boyfriend to a burger place when I was in peak week, and I'm sitting there next to him he's eating a burger and wings, and I have chicken and asparagus in a plastic bag. Because I didn't want to like take away his fun from something that I'm choosing to do.
And I think we're going to see it as an experience versus the
Yeah,
food. Then that would change it too.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, it's enjoying your time, like enjoying your experience. Like, did I want his burger? Yeah. Did I smell it? Yeah. But I was like, no, I'm fine over here. Like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Did I smell?
I feel like, sure did. Those wings smell amazing.
You've done that before.
Yeah.
Smell that,
Just let me smell it.
Yeah.
That, and then I was going to say one other thing. Sometimes something that can be very challenging is if someone doesn't necessarily understand what you're doing, you know, and like my family and like my close friends and the people that I'm around all the time now, like, yeah, they all get it because I'm kind of like, we're all in that kind of circle and I've been doing it for this long that my family like understands. But if someone doesn't understand what the whole process of bodybuilding is, they can sometimes kind of, I don't want to say like turn against you. That's not the right thing. That's not the right way to say it, but kind of say things like, well, why can't you just eat this? Or like, just come with us this one time, or just like this one drink will be fine. Or like, oh, you're eating so healthy. Why are like, you're the weird one.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
Even with someone who are just starting out with like fitness and working out, like they'll get that too.
right. Or someone brings in like donuts in the morning at your job or something. And it's like, oh, why can't you have a donut? Like, it's just one. And it's like, that person, you're like, no, like, I don't want to. It's, you know, I think that sometimes people on the outside of that world or people who aren't trying to be health conscious, they can sometimes kind of make it harder for the person who does want that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not letting that hinder what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Because I've had clients that have had that kind of experience too, where it's just kind of like, you know, so-and-so said this, or these people said that. And then it's just kind of like, you realize, well, then if that person's not going to be supportive of you or what you're doing, or maybe doesn't even want to try to understand why you're doing these certain things and how it's all working, and just kind of say, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to pressure you into having pizza or, you know, having a beer, whatever it might be, you know?
And I think sometimes those people, maybe they don't realize it, but like subconsciously it makes them feel bad because they're not making changes and they see someone else making a change.
Right. Right. And that's a good way. I mean, that's a good way to see it, because it's very possible that that's what the problem is, you know?
What's been your biggest challenge? I think I might have asked you this before too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel bad for like,
we talked about this.
because you've hit some milestones like with your podcast and like quitting your job, which was huge. And like, I want to take her out and go out to dinner, but then I like,
and you're like, oh,
so I'm like, just wait for a little bit.
yeah. Well, and you're right, and that part is hard too, because like I've been in prep for like family stuff, or like, I guess I haven't really been in prep over my boyfriend's birthday. Right after it, but I mean, same kind of thing where it's like, let's go out and celebrate. Oh, just kidding, we can't. Like, we're gonna do a prep friendly date night, or you know, something like that, which is like great in the moment, but then it affects all the people around you, you know. And so it's when you're like cranky and upset, and you can feel that tension kind of building in. And I mean, I'm speaking from experience. The last season that I competed, it's easy to just kind of snap because your fuse is this long and you're hungry. And it's kind of like my boyfriend, he gets it because he's competed before himself as well. But aside from that, it's like, not only like, does he understand it? I'm in a place now where I can catch myself, and I'm just kind of like, sorry, it's not you. Just really tired. I really don't want to be doing this right now. Okay. Bye. I have to spend time on my own. And it's, you know, people are kind of like, oh, why is she so moody? She's just low carbs. It's fine.
Yeah. Right. You need a shirt that says that.
For sure. That would be a bestseller, I'm sure.
But I've tried just
But-
like telling you like it's okay. And,
Yeah,
I think it
you've
helps
been very
that.
supportive.
Yeah, like I
Well, right. And you
understand.
being supportive of her and, just being like her cheerleader and understanding
Mhm.
it and knowing that it's a temporary thing, she's not going to be in prep for the rest of her life or anything like
Yeah.
that, you
Mhm.
know?
What about, because you've talked to me a little bit about like imposter syndrome a little
yeah.
bit.
I haven't dealt with it too much for this show, but the first one I just felt like, I wasn't lean enough, or like I don't look good enough to be up on stage with these other women up there, like just dealing with that mental battle. I
Well, you
guess.
said that to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I think, totally normal. It's totally normal to feel, especially when it's something so outside of your comfort zone or something that you have, not necessarily outside of your comfort zone, but like something that is
Never
so
done
new.
before.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're getting on stage, all eyes are on you, you're in the spotlight, that kind of thing. Like, I think it's easy to just like worry about some of that stuff.
Mhm.
And especially with like social media these days and stuff, when you can go and look at all these other people who do the same thing that you're doing. And that can get in your head. And I know that it happens to a lot of my clients. I never really got into the whole like stalking people on social media before competitions kind of thing. Some people do that, where if they tell you who's all in your class, they'll like go and look up everyone and just like scope them out. I never did that because I didn't want to get in my head. Now I'm at a level where I know at least via social media who a lot of the girls are that I will be competing with next time, and that I have competed with before, and we're like friends outside of like stage or whatever. And you can either look at it as intimidating, or you can look at it as cool, they look great, so do I.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you're not as lean as you want to be. And it's okay to still have room for more improvements, because I promise you that now that you are in this bodybuilding thing, you are always going to see where you can improve constantly. It's literally never ending. And it's not something that, next time you get next time you get on stage, you're going to look way different than you do now, because it's going to be a whole new reverse diet. And like I said to you last night, like, if your weight gets to where it was before, you're not going to look the same, because your body is going to regain that body weight in a different way. Like, that's happened to me every single show I've done. It's like, once I diet down and once I gain weight back, I look way different. The weight I'm at now looks way different than this weight at 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it's normal.
Yeah. I think one thing you pointed out too last night was that like your main goal was to step on stage, and that's what you did. And like,
right.
And
you improved from this show, from your last one.
Yeah. I was gonna say the reason I don't have to feel it this much this show is because like even in the last 3 weeks, I feel like a lot has changed. I just feel better about being up there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and once you get the first time jitters, off your chest, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I think, the imposter syndrome thing, that's real for anybody, no matter who you are.
I'm like recently starting to, I get in my head about that.
Yeah.
Like just quitting my job, trying this whole podcast, like doing my own business thing. Like I'll get in my head and sometimes be like, am I like
right? Like, should I be doing this? Like, is this actually going to be successful? Like, I was literally just telling my boyfriend about this random like back and forth of thoughts I had in my own head. And I actually haven't said this. I haven't talked to anybody about it except for him so far. So now like the world can hear it. But so back in 2019, when I competed last, I did really well. And, everyone's like, oh, congratulations. Like, I won a pro world champion title, which is awesome. I'm not saying that to brag, but just to kind of like give you some insight. And like now I have some people still who like my boyfriend, even like when new people come over, who like, oh, she's a world champion figure competitor. Like, and I'm just like, oh my God, like stop, like, don't like, I didn't do anything. Like I just followed the plan that my coach told me to do, and like, that doesn't give me any sort of like credentials or anything like that. I just followed a plan. And now me being the coach and having people congratulate me on how my clients did, I'm sitting here saying the same thing. I didn't do anything. I just told them what to do and they did it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's the same. It's literally me saying the same thing about the two opposite sides of the thing. And it's like, but yeah, I did execute the plan. I did all the stuff I was supposed to. And I'm the one who came up with the plan for my clients. I do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they do see
Yeah.
success. And so it's like, I think everybody literally has those thoughts and feelings sometimes.
Yeah. And will, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like, downsize or downplay, like not give themselves enough credit.
Yeah,
That's all.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of
Mm-hmm.
saying like, oh yeah, well, it's nothing, but it's like, but no, it actually is something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's huge.
Oh, hey, you got on stage. Like, that's awesome. And you're just kind of, no, not that you are being like that, but it's like, but it is huge. Like you worked your ass off to get up there for a long time, and for you, like quitting your job and moving to a new city and starting stuff on your own, like that's huge. And it takes a lot of guts to do something like that and to leave that stability and dive into something head first that you don't know for sure if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
So it's like, just do it.
Yeah.
And
And
be
then
proud
to,
of
like,
it.
yeah, be proud of it.
Yeah.
To, like recognize that and give yourself more credit for that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So, okay, because you did 15 shows, you were the world's champ 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you have plans to do more?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully next fall. I have a broken foot on the mend. So hopefully I'll get rid of this guy and then I can actually have some good leg days again. And my goal would be for the next 6 to 8 months to rebuild muscle, reverse diet myself to get my calorie intake up nice and high. And then I will be working with the same coach that I had my last time.
I was going to ask that.
Could I do it myself? Yeah, probably. But I don't want to have to think about my own shit as well as all my client stuff. I will let him do the crazy analyzing of everything all the time and telling me what to do, and I'll just do it.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. I have dieted myself before and continued to get better and come in leaner each show. But once I actually hired a coach to do it for me and like be in control of all that stuff, it was like night and day difference.
Plus it's having a different, like other perspective, like, other than you seeing yourself or someone else.
100%. Yeah.
That will see it much different.
It was so much less stressful.
Yeah.
Not that I like regret doing it on my own because I learned a ton and I loved that. But now knowing how it is, I'd rather put my energy and my focus on doing what I need to do and then taking care of my clients rather than trying to analyze myself.
Yeah.
So the goal is a year from now. No idea on what shows I want to do yet.
I want to do, I think I want to do a show.
You should.
Next year. I really want
It's a fun thing to work towards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to be in the same one, but like she does a different category. I do. Category. It'd be cool.
What category do you want to do?
I don't know. She thinks I'll be really good at what? Figure? Yeah.
Nice.
So
You have really nice legs.
Yeah.
You have really nice legs.
Like in attack.
We need to show those babies.
Yeah.
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 No, it would be fun. And the process of it all and seeing like how your body changes and everything, like not even only when you're in prep, but even when you're getting stronger in the gym and when your muscle tissue is growing, you can notice it. Like it's awesome to see that what you're doing is working.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Makes me excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, 522.
Okay. Did you have any other questions that you could think of?
What got you into bodybuilding?
That's a good question. When I started working at Lifetime, maybe like 2 years before that, I had gotten into like lifting a little bit more. I kind of went through a few different spurts of like what I liked to do for exercise. I was in figure skating and dance growing up. And then in college, I started going to the weight room and I just did some machines and did some cardio stuff because I didn't know anything about the free weight area. And one of the guys that I dated in college kind of showed me the way through like some of the dumbbells and benches and stuff like that. So I did a few more things there. Then I got into running. Then I got into yoga. And then I got back into kind of weight training. And when I got hired at Lifetime, maybe a year and a half after I started working there, one of my coworkers kind of just came up to me and he was like, hey, would you ever compete? And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even know what he was talking about. And he's like, you look like you should compete. Would you ever do one? And I'm like, I could never diet like that. And I kind of just like shoved it off. And then one of my other coworkers, his girlfriend was doing a show and people were all like, oh, hey, we're going to go watch so-and-so compete in your show this weekend. Do you want to come? And going to watch that, I was kind of like, okay, I actually think maybe I might want to do that. And then that same person got on me about it again, like a year later. It's like, hey, you should do this. And then I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And I just kind of kept getting a little bit more and more interested in it. And then at one point, somewhere towards the beginning of 2013, a couple of my male coworkers were all going to prep and do the same show. And I was kind of like, all right, I'm going to do it too. And so there was originally like 3 guys that were going to do it. And then there was 4 guys and then me. And then one of my female coworkers is like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it too. So there ended up being between the coworkers of mine. And then there was like 4 like just gym goers who were all kind of like in our same age group. We were all going to kind of like do the same show together. And so we all, I think, ended up kind of prepping ourselves and just kind of like learning off of each other and all that kind of stuff. We really didn't have a whole lot of an idea what we were doing, but like once I got out that first time, I was like, yep, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And I think a lot of it comes from like being on stage, like in figure skating and dance and cheerleading and being like in front of people, that like that part never made me nervous. And so now it was just another way that I can like challenge myself and try and do something different. Like I love having that goal. Like instead of a goal of running a 13.1 half marathon, now my goal is just to drop body fat and look like Wonder Woman, you know? And so it was, it was just people mentioning it to me and then finally just saying, okay, you know what? I'll do it.
Yeah.
And now 8 years later,
15 done.
15 shows done.
I actually had one person ask me, I was at a Snap Fitness in Minnesota one time.
Yeah.
And she like came up to me and she just asked if I was prepping for a show because I apparently looked like I was going to do a show. And I was like, no, definitely not. Not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I think it's different when you like go and see it. Like now, that was like years ago, but like now seeing her go through it, being here like next to her side, do like through prep and stuff, and seeing everyone like on stage.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this woman.
It gives you like a different view of it.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, back in the day, if you would have told me about like women in bodybuilding, the only thing you think about is like the Miss Olympia, huge, jacked out of their minds women. Which, yeah, those women are out there, but there's so many different categories and levels to bodybuilding that, you know, if I tell people like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder and they look at me and they're like, huh? And I'm like, you don't know what's going on under here. Like, you're not a huge giant person, but neither are a lot of other people. They just look that way because they're super lean. So all you can see is their muscle. And when you see them up on stage, like they look huge, you know? Yeah. But yeah, seeing it all kind of gives you a different view of it. Yeah. And then doing it back when I'm like, I could never diet like that. Well, yeah, like that I couldn't, which I didn't. So now that I do the more flexible approach with tracking macros rather than like a strict meal plan situation or trying to stick to a certain amount of foods or whatever. Yeah. A million times easier.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I bet so. Are you taking on new clients at all? Mm-hmm. Oh, you are. Okay. Mm-hmm. I got you. All right.
Yeah. And I love it. I think being able to share what I've learned and continue to learn all the time and like having other people learn that from me and like experience some of those same kind of things that I did, like that's honestly probably the most rewarding thing. You know, it's like, I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for like trying to look like a badass or whatever it might be that would be motivating somebody. Like I just get so much joy out of seeing other people succeed and be proud of themselves that like I would not want to be doing anything different with my life. It's awesome.
I think when someone can find that in their life, that's because that's the same thing. I'm the same way, like with helping people with like health, fitness, anything.
Yeah.
But like I don't like when I was at Anytime Fitness, I would have my other trainers, plus like my boss, they would ask me about like when I got paid, how much I got paid. And my boss would like, did you see I added $300, whatever extra?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I did not see that because I just don't check those things. Also, I'm not a numbers person, but I don't do it like for the money. I'm not like
exactly
constantly checking that. So
no, me neither. I just want to be able to help as many people as I can. And, you know, within reason. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and have like 50 clients where I can't pay attention to half the people that I'm working with. Yeah. That's not fair either.
Yeah.
But
so if someone's listening and wants to work with you,
yay!
What do they do?
Find me on Instagram. My name is Alicia Monique with a bunch of I's in there somewhere. You can tag me.
Oh, I will.
Tag me
I'll add to the show
it.
notes. Yeah. Tag you in all the posts I do.
Yeah. Otherwise, in person, I train at Los Campeones Gym in Minneapolis. So cool. Good place.
Did you decide not to put your last name in your Instagram just because it's so crazy?
Because it's so hard.
Because it's ridiculous, and I just wanted it to be something.
That's how mine is. It's
simple,
Sophia Dawn. Like, that's her middle name, not Nella Carrillo, which is my last name.
Okay, see, so you're in the same boat.
Yeah.
No, my Instagram name was something else before, but it was just like my initials and like a nickname with the word fit at the end, and it was just kind of like. Once I started my own business thing, I'm kind of like, I didn't like, people would like start to recognize you when you're kind of like in the little fitnessy bodybuilding industry and they, oh, you're AK90. And I'm like, yeah, my name's Alicia though, actually. And so now like, I just switched it to my first and middle name and that was actually already taken. Hence why there's like double I's in all the places where there's I's. Mm-hmm. Because I just wanted it to be like my name. Mm-hmm. So yeah. And yeah, my last name is crazy.
It's the worst trying to say it over the phone. Spell it on the like, to people.
Yeah, like checking in for the doctor for my foot. Like, okay, and first and last name. I'm like, I'll spell it KRZ, but then they think it's a C and not a Z, and they all sound the same.
That's why I've gotten used to saying N as in Nancy,
yep.
H as in Larry. Like it's just like
Z as in zebra.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I do have one more question.
Oh, ask away.
Okay. So I asked everyone this. I don't know if I asked you this yet, actually.
Another.
Do you even know what she's going to say?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the question?
Okay. So my podcast is called Flow with the Grow. So what does that mean to you? Like when you hear flow with the grow?
I like that. Actually, I wanted to ask you where you came up with the name for it, but okay, I'll go first. Flow with the grow.
It's a funny story. I don't know if I've ever told it on here, actually, how I came up with it.
You should. Yeah. Let's see. Flow with the grow. I mean, obviously it makes you think of like go with the flow, at least for me. And flow with the grow. I think it means like as you are, or to me, what it would mean would be like, as you're trying to like grow yourself, like internally, externally, whatever it might be, as you're trying to like level up in your life, you have to like ebb and flow with the goods and the bads. You know, it's never going to be a linear process. Anything in life isn't. And so just ride it out.
Yep. Yeah. Everyone has such a different answer. I love
really?
it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But, so I was kind of in the time where I knew I was going to do this podcast. I was trying to think of a name for it. And what I was driving to Hy-Vee, like specifically vividly in my mind, I was driving to Hy-Vee and I thought of go with the flow. Yeah. And I looked it up and actually I thought of grow with the flow, but I looked at both of those and they were taken. Yeah. And so I was just driving, just kind of thinking, but also I just kind of like let it go. I knew it was going to come to me. And then like it hit me. And it was like this like feeling in my intuition, like a gut feeling that I knew that I was it. Like I could feel it.
That's awesome.
And the flow of the grow. That's like what came to me. So I was driving like towards Hy-Vee, about to turn the parking lot, and then flow with the grow just came to my mind. And it was like this feeling like such an expansion inside me. I can't even explain it. And I looked up flow with the grow, Google podcast, like nothing is out there. Yeah. So that's what it is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And for me, it's really just kind of like what you said. Like it's all about like life, I think, is about growth and flowing with the ups and the downs and trying to find the joy in all of it. So
I like it. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. So, okay. Yay. Well, thanks for doing this.
You bet.
I'm so glad it worked out perfectly. Yeah. I like to be here.
Right.
Here, just do it, video it. Yeah.
So in the middle of everything.
Yeah. So I'll let you know when it comes out.
Yay.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.